Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SDRescue. We're on episode 47 now. And as you probably noted, we've been on a little bit of a summer vacation here at SDRev. But we're joined once again by my co-host, Austin. And we've got AJ over here on my side from SDRev joining as well. How are both of you doing today?
We'll start with AJ because he looks like he's doing really well.
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's
gave us
I'm
the jazz hands at
the
the beginning.
You can tell how excited I am by the speed of my jazz hands.
Weather good in Boston?
No, it's terrible. Actually, it's either been 112 degrees or raining basically all July, so it's kind of been tough. But nothing like a bright SDRescue to kick the week off strong.
It's gonna be a good time. Well, weather's great here in Raleigh, and Grayson has brought us the email straight from Da Nang, Vietnam. So really excited to look into it. There's Grayson. What are we going to cover today? What are some of the things we want to focus on in this one?
Yeah, so while you're pulling the screen share up, this is a type of conversation I don't think we've touched on much. So this show generally kind of looks at sales and kind of a sales development, pre-sales standpoint. However, we kind of go different places and look at different types of business conversations that happen via email. And this one is specifically about partnerships, more so kind of channel partnerships, trying to find somebody or some company that wants to assist your brand in, either generating referrals on a steady basis, or sometimes, instead of a channel partner, it could be more strategic, more of an alliance where you're trying to get some sort of benefit out of the brands collaborating. So we'll be looking at one that is a little bit more sales oriented. I think they were trying to steal me and try to convince me to become a channel partner for them, as well as I believe kind of get access to the community and kind of like add value to that. So we'll kind of look at the different angles that they use and all of the value that they had in the email. And I think that's where I'm going to be focusing most of this episode, is talking about how you can use value that you already have from a marketing team or from a client services team or for a partnership team that you can actually leverage to actually generate these conversations without having to show so much or without having to be overly salesy, which can happen sometimes.
Sweet. Yeah, we don't look at a lot of, I don't think we've looked at any emails for channel. And I think this is a good spot because there are going to be channel managers and channel sales reps where this is a large sector, especially in the software space. This is a large sector of, I think, salespeople where that's your job, is to go and find resellers, go find people that will be an ambassador or a channel partner for your brand. So this will be really cool to look at. So let's see here. It says, my name is Rep and I'm in charge of the partner program at our company, formerly known as this other company. I came across you on LinkedIn and thought you might be interested. We partner with professionals like yourself to help you create happier small business clients and a healthier bottom line for your business. You get access to powerful sales and marketing software, a proven system to accelerate your sales, a welcoming community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and consistent exposure to over 40,000 of our customers. You can even use our network to win exciting projects and land new clients, like many partners routinely do. If this sounds interesting to you, I'd love to chat and see if we might be a good fit for each other. Let me know if you have some time in the next few days.
That inflection was,
I didn't see that it was a question until the second half of the sentence, and so I had to sneak it in there. All right. Color code. Orange, you glad to see that I started my sentence talking about myself?
The entire sentence, in fact. To kind of start out with my thoughts, I think my big problem with this email is that it comes off so much like a standard sales email, talking to a cold prospect, trying to convince a cold prospect to get on a discovery call or engage in some sort of sales experience, when in reality, in my mind, at least, partnerships and channel partnerships, that's a much easier sale, much easier conversation to go down.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big mistake in my mind that the rep took here is you have this unique opportunity where a lot of people are probably trying to reach out to these people and just sell to them. And you're doing something a little different, a little bit more collaborative, a little bit more kind of like tuned to them and personalized to them rather than just having a cookie cutter sales process. And you don't want to waste your ammo trying to make them feel like you're just another rep in a group of sellers trying to get their attention. And so I think that whole first half of the email really either needs to be completely rewritten or adjusted so that the introduction into the purpose of this email, which is, hello, I think you'd be a fit to partner with my company and collaborate. That's the purpose. I think there needs to be a better transition into that conversation, because now when I read the first line, I like immediately am like, this feels salesy. And then I read I came across you on LinkedIn and was like, yep, this is salesy. So I feel like that if they maybe cut down a little bit on their intro, it might help, but just too many things in a row that for me, if I'm thinking about being interested in a channel partner program, I'm not going to read through the whole email. Even if I am interested in what you've got to offer, the way you angled it at the very beginning gives me the wrong perspective. And I think that's something you should always keep in mind, whether you're selling or trying to get any conversation in business. You want to be very careful about how they're going to receive and interpret your messages, because everyone's different. Everyone interprets communication different. And it's very likely that, if you find emails or some cadences that aren't performing, that could be a potential cause. People, it's not that they're not interested. They just don't get it, or they're just not on the same page as you. And a few little tweaks can kind of adjust those and help repair that.
Yeah, I think so. When you're absolutely right. The first sentence makes me think it's a prospecting email, and it puts me in a defensive stance. And whereas you could lead with something much, much more enticing, because when it comes to partnering, like, that's that second half of the email where it starts the blue and the red where you've highlighted there's lots of incentives, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of them and they go in a lot of different directions. It's not really focused or clear, but you got a lot of ammo to spend. But the problem is that you buried it underneath spam. It's like a delicious steak sandwich under a big can of spam.
Ew.
No one wants a spam sandwich.
Why would you say that? That's funny. You bring up, and Grayson, you brought this up, like SDRs who do send cold emails often look for ways to differentiate themselves, right? Like any way that you can look different than other SDRs reaching out cold is what you're aiming for. And this person has that already in their back pocket. Like, it's not supposed to be cold outreach in the sense that you're trying to sell someone something. It's a partnership opportunity. Immediate differentiator that you neglect to bring to the forefront of your email, and kind of like Austin said, just bury it deeper in the message. So they didn't take advantage of this opportunity to show that, like, hey, this isn't a cold prospecting email. I've got something different for you.
Yeah, I agree. And to kind of touch on Austin's point, I think you make an amazing point about how they actually place and use what I consider like the value offers in their email. Because I think like you take the entire sentence or the entire 2 lines there, kind of going through the benefits, and just like remove some of the beginning. And that's actually a pretty strong email. I mean, yes, it is overwhelming. It does kind of go in a lot of different directions, but at the very least, I think that is the purpose, or that would be the point of someone going to read that email. Someone would read that and see all of the different benefits and et cetera that you can offer. I think the problem is that it comes after you bust your rep. So it's like your reputation is gone. You've exposed yourself as trying to persuade them into a sales-like conversation. And then instead of it coming out and it acting like you see there on the color coding that we call this kind of like red a value exchange. Well, it's no longer positioned as an exchange of value after you've introed yourself like that. It's more so like a please talk to me because A, because B, because C. It's no longer just an independent exchange of value between 2 people. They have to basically read the conversation and say, okay, you are in charge of a partner program. You think I might be interested. You partner with people like me, you think, and you're trying to convince me to respond to you by giving me these things, but it's still going back to you're a salesperson, you're trying to convince me. I think that there are so many ways that you can position a value exchange. And we've talked about this before in past episodes where you can offer value and engage in a conversation and even move along in a sales process without ever like disclosing yourself as a salesperson or as someone who's like in the intent of trying to sell someone. You can have amazing experiences and get opportunities for referrals or great hires or future sales opportunities by simply being good at saying, hey, I talk to people in your industry. I know what you guys experience, and here's a thing that I know would be valuable for you. Would you be interested? I think leaving it at that and the value exchange itself is more powerful today than what's gone on in this email, which is, hi, I'm a salesperson. In order for me to convince you to take the time, here's some things to think about, right? It's positioned almost as kind of like a bait, like here, come take it, right? And instead, I think there's so much outreach and so many opportunities that buyers have to deal with to either say yes or no to a salesperson that I don't think that works as effectively anymore. It's much more effective for a buyer to think about someone that's selflessly saying, hey, our brand's so confident in who we're targeting and what we do that I'm just wanting to give you this value. Goodbye. You know, like if you'd like to talk to us, that'd be great. But having that distance shows a bit of professionalism and knowledge in the sales process. And it lets the buyer know that, okay, I'm under control. I can check this out when I want to. And even if I never talk to them again, I might just receive some value from it. I think if this person would have just focused a little bit more on this third line, what they're trying to offer the buyer, I think the results would have been a lot better. And I do think that it would have read a little bit more interesting.
I think it's about time to transition down to the rewrite, but I also want to point out too in that second sentence where it says we partner with professionals like yourself. So the problem is that this is obviously a mass email because they're including some of this identifying information, which in my opinion should probably just be segmentation. Like they should know that the people they reach out to sell to small businesses already. Like you could segment your list out. That way you don't have to tell people, hey, we help you create happier small businesses. The other thing, healthier bottom line. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I just feel like that line could be taken out just by doing really good segmentation or building a good list of people that you already know need that. And I mean, sometimes you can say it, but I just don't think how they said it and where they put it is a good place to play that card. I just think that like, you know, you could build a list where it goes without saying, because you kind of already talk about making more money for your business by selling their software to their small business, the small business customers you already have in that second part. And, you know, that could just be part of your segmentation in your list. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of times where when we're writing a big mass email for outreach, we tend to put things that should be in our things that we tend to put personalization in the email because we pat ourselves on the back and go, yeah, that's personalized. It's good copywriting. But actually it's bad copywriting because you could just not write it and segment instead.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in fact, that's kind of a good tip to kind of lead with here. I think one of the best ways to segment is to find ways to remove words, because often we're adding words to help build context with people that may or may not agree or may not, you know, resonate with a specific thing we're saying. And so if you segment correctly, you can actually remove those and it makes a sturdier sentence and a sturdier email.
On to the rewrite.
Let's see what that rewrite looks like.
All right, here we go. Oh, a lot shorter.
Right.
Okay. You want me to read it? I'll read it.
Go for it.
All righty. Hi, Grayson. I lead strategic partnerships at our company and want to invite you to an exclusive community made up of like-minded agency founders, leaders, and investors. Our community of partners exchange valuable advice, collaborate on events, and help each other generate a consistent supply of referrals from within the network. Would you be open to checking it out? I'd also be happy to introduce you to a few people in the community. Just let me know your preferences.
I've got a typo. I should be
I
ashamed.
was just about to say, it's a rewrite and it's got a typo.
So what do you think, AJ? Well, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I think framing it like a community versus a partnership network is big, because when I think of partnership network, I think of a very different group of people and different reasons as to why they'd be a part of that than a community. So the framing of it being a community really digs into and is shown by the value that you're bringing there. So exchanging valuable advice, collaborating on events, and generating consistent supplies of referrals is very different to me and very community focused than, hey, you're going to be hanging out with a bunch of other partners who are resellers and they're looking to make money through the name brand that we have. They're two very different things, and one of them is a whole lot more enticing to me, the community side of things, than the other, because I know that if I'm just a partner, reseller, or whatever, I'm here to make my money, sell my product through this other name brand's names network. If it's a community, then I can benefit personally, professionally, in other ways that like a partner wouldn't. And that's not something that maybe you think about initially when you read that first email, but in your rewrite, that is at the forefront. And I think that's huge. So, and obviously it's a lot shorter, and you've made those value exchanges more concise, which I think is big as well. So other than the typo, I'm a big fan of what you've done here.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, one point I wanted to make with kind of how I made this rewrite is in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it seems to me the way I've rewritten this doesn't fundamentally change the process here
Right.
for how you would go about and start building out, conversations with potential partners. I think all I really did is say, well, if I'm going to spend the time to begin with to reach out to this person about a partnership, then they should be somewhat qualified and a good enough fit for me to do it in the first place. So why not just lead with the value? It's just like what we do with SDRev, right? It's like we could just like sit here and try to make money selling things, but instead we want to focus on just finding good, like-minded people that are wanting to learn similar things or are wanting to contribute to a similar community, and that's all that matters. And that's a very, very valuable pitch compared to trying to sell someone or convince somebody else to sell something for us. And I think the same thing applies here. Whether you're a software, whether you're a service agency, really whatever industry you're in, if you do have the ability to create a partnership program, what that essentially means is you have the ability to create a community and kind of build a niche network, a niche audience that you can create an endless list of potential valuable incentives and valuable benefits that somebody who is a fit could actually receive from joining. And if that's the case, if I had a sequence trying to generate channel partners, that's all I'd focus on. I'd have like 3 to 6 emails, and those 3 to 6 emails would first be focused on what are they going to be getting? We can talk details later. Maybe we can back up into more of a nurture later on. But right now, if I want them to be a partner, I just want them to know why my partner program is way more awesome and fun and exciting and profitable than my competitor's partner program. It's a different type of sale, in my opinion. It's more about getting someone excited and showing the brand authority behind something that isn't a sales process that I think really matters here. And that's why, in my opinion, I tried not to fundamentally adjust the actual process here for building out a partner.
Yeah, it's a good reframing of the value that they tried to elicit in that first email. You've just shifted how you're supposed to think about it, and obviously you didn't bury it like it was in the first one. But yeah, I think it's a reframing versus like you said, changing the actual structure of what the email is looking to accomplish.
And you're not even really and the other one, like I said, it was going in so many different directions. It was saying, hey, you can increase your bottom line. Hey, you can possibly get new projects. Hey, you can do this. But if you look, all of the benefits are wrapped in a frame of this is a community, right? So it's been repackaged. The idea and the concept is easier to understand. People have to, the biggest mistake I think that we make as sales leaders and sales people is that we think that people have all of the context or relevance or understanding that we have in our brain when we write something. And that's what the cardinal sin of the last email was, is that they have so much context and info and background into what they're communicating that they put out all of that other data because they're like, I'll just add more on because more is better. More is not necessarily better. More is just more when it comes to writing, unless you know what you're doing with a purpose. So when Grayson did here is he said, hey, instead of just saying, hey, you do say I lead strategic partnerships, which is great. It helps disarm the salesperson thing. If your title is right, you typically can use that to get through a little bit more. Although sometimes salespeople ruin this by saying I'm the partnership director, but it's actually just salesperson. So that, it's also anecdotal about whether that works or not. But I think it's a great way to just to show the contrast between the last email, which was very much I'm a salesperson, and this one is very much not. Because then you go into the exclusive community. You're inviting them to a partner program. You want them to sign up and sell your stuff. That's what you want. But it is positioned as an exclusive invitation to a community of like-minded people that comes with a plethora of benefits. And every benefit you add on, you didn't, there's a number. Didn't they use a number up here? I'm going to scroll up here really quick. 40,000 customers. Okay. You didn't say anything about your 40,000 customers in there because the 40,000 customers aren't a part of the 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 community members. That is more important in this writing than the 40,000 customers that the software company has. So I just think that like when you put something in the right, when you have to learn how to package your idea, because that will help frame your copywriting. Grayson packaged it in a frame of exclusive community, and it made all of the other benefits make sense in that context. And I, as the reader, don't need to have all the background about your company, how many customers you have, what your software does, or that you need partners and that I could grow my business about it. I don't need that because it's all within the context that Grayson chose. And that's why it makes it easier to read and is going to convert higher, because I'm also not confused when I finish reading it.
Yeah. You also do a lot in ways of making deposits versus asking for something, which is also huge. I mean, that's, kind of cold email 101, but that first email was asking for time to discuss more information about the partner network. And this email is more focused on, hey, are you interested in joining this partner network or community that I've laid out for you? And you'd even go that extra step. You take that extra step to introduce them to a few people in the community. So this isn't just like, hey, check out this sick community that we have. This is you being like, I think you're a good fit for this community. Here's why. And I'd even go as far to introduce you to some people in the community to prove why I think you'd be a good fit. And that takes it to another level of, this isn't just a sales email. I'm not just asking for 15 minutes of your time. I'm giving you something that I think would be valuable. By all means, like, it's on you as to whether or not you want to take it.
From a strategy perspective, that's actually a really good idea for people out there who are running SaaS partner programs. Your call to action should be, let me introduce you, or hey, jump on, join our partner call or something to see other community members. Like, from a strategy perspective, I think that's going to convert way better than, hey, let's have a 15-minute. What do they ask for? I can't remember what their call to action was. Oh no, they just had a few minutes. They didn't say 15. I was thinking about another email I read. You know what I mean? Like, if you make your call to action sound like a sales meeting, people are going to think it's a sales meeting. Like, this is just a good play again on Grayson's part. I know all I do is talk Grayson up, but the tip of the hat to the call to action, making it exclusive and as an invite.
My head's this big now. To kind of touch briefly, I know we're getting close to time here, but to touch briefly on something that Austin mentioned. I think I've said this a few times throughout our episodes, but I just want to make it clear again that one of the reasons why packaging ideas like this is effective, it's not just effective at being clear and easier to understand from a recipient standpoint, But the reason why I have done this for a while, it's kind of a habit of mine, is because I naturally test everything I do, especially on the cold front, where it's going to be a little bit higher volume. Outcomes are much more unknown. Whether or not they're actually qualified for a salesperson it's harder to dig in and find out. So I'm testing all the time when I'm trying to do cold prospecting. And when you package ideas, it becomes much easier to maintain the structure of good copy, but test the ideas. So think about it. Like if you took this and you basically kept the intro part and removed everything else except for some of the basics, you could replace all of the community language with just referral language. You could replace all of the referral language with talking about what Austin said I left out, right? Instead of talking about it from the perspective of what the network can bring you, maybe I could say, hey, I wanted to invite you to an exclusive community of people who get referred our customers, right? Like that's an entirely different way to position it. But by packaging an idea in that way, I can clearly know that community talk to this audience either works or doesn't work compared to a generic program email or about this topic or that topic. And in that way, not only is it easier to test, but in my mind, it's also more statistically significant and clear. Because I think one big problem that I still see today, a lot of teams and reps do, is they'll test too much too often at once, and there never is any clear results on what's working, what's not working, and why. But when you do it in this way, I might have different CTAs, I might have different intros, but I'll have the same exact topic going after two different audiences using the same exact language to try to see, okay, if my name's Grayson and I do partners for Acme Co. If I'm targeting audience A and audience B, and I'm talking about community specifically, which one of those is going to hit off more? And if it works for both, great. I've got a good email and I can start adding on more topics. If it doesn't work for one, great. I know that community is the right topic for audience B, and I need to think of something else to open with. And through that process, 3 to 6 months can give you a lot of data on what is working in the first 3 emails and what you should remove for specific audiences or all audiences.
You also have to be aware that, what you're talking about, Grayson, means you can't expect to know the perfect email before you write it, right? How are you going to know? Shocking. But, there are a lot of people that, look, as sales leaders, people are like, well, you're the smart sales leader guy. You're supposed to write the perfect sales email and make the numbers go up. And probably if you're doing it in a customer, with a client relationship dynamic, right? There's probably people who are like, well, why do you need to test it? Why do you need to just spend 3 months getting data? Just write a good email. And so what you're talking about is, hey, find idea packages or idea frames, way to frame your offer and test. And then gather the data and measure, hey, these types of ideas, you could even categorize like, hey, these types of ideas have a response rate or probably a better one would be like a conversion rate, meetings. These types of ideas have a percentage of this many versus these ones, which are not as good. And then you want to, you can build more lists around those you can build more lists of the audience around those types and then send sequences around those types of ideas. And that's how you do it. But the sad reality is that you can't just, I guess you could, if you had enough money and enough contacts, you could run all those tests at once, but it's refined over time though. Like you still have to send them and see the results and measure. And so I think that's, and some salespeople are put in a position where they don't have the luxury of time and measurement and understanding. But if you are in charge of your territory, if you are a business owner or wherever you're coming from, if you do have that luxury of being able to make that decision, that's an important principle, that you're not just gonna be able to cook up the best idea. Copywriting is great, but you want to test a bunch of different ideas and packages.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Looks like that at the top of the hour. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. And thank you for letting us have our brief summer vacation. So we should be back next week, Monday, 11:30 Eastern for another episode. And as always, if you have an email that you've written and you want us to review it, if you have an email you received, if you want to join us on the show, just hit us up, AJ, Grayson, or Austin on LinkedIn, or go to SDRevolution.com and reach out to us, and we'll get you booked. It'd be awesome to have you. In the meantime, everyone have a happy week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.